Okay, so life is absolutely bananas. Um, that snowstorm, although I knew it was coming, I knew it was going to be like first a freezing rain and then snow. Um, I didn't know exactly when it was coming. I took a break at this like closed campground for like lunch. I took a little longer lunch because my feet are killing. Um, and then I started hiking through the next I don't know, I guess like stint until right before Navajo Springs. So it's like 4 miles to Navajo Springs, like tank. And I ran into this like girl and her dog, and she's like, "Hey, the weather's coming." I was like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "Are you prepared?" And I was like, "I think so." She was like, "Okay, like, do you need anything?" Like, I was like, "No, that's really nice of you though." I ran into this couple, like everyone like I run into is like so supportive and so kind and like selfless and like wants to be like, "Hey, do you need this?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so heartwarming." But I think they were secretly asking me, like, "Do you know that storm's coming right now?" Because I did not know that storm was coming right now. Because as I go into this next stint, there is rocks left and right. There is nowhere to camp. You can't even like the trail is rocks, let alone like there's big rocks and little rocks all around you. Very pretty. It's still like pines and stuff and like lots of pretty leaves. But there's literally nowhere to camp. It starts like raining a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's okay, as long as it's like a little." And then it starts hailing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well it's hailing." So I start like booking it, like because I was only 4 miles. I was already on it for like a mile. So I start like trucking it, and then it's just like, then it just is like rain and hail, and I am sopping wet. And I was like, oh my God, number one thing not to do is just like be wet, especially while like covered in just so much water. But I was like, okay, I'm kind of screwed because there's literally nowhere to set up camp. I would have set up camp when I felt the rain, but there's literally rocks everywhere, so I can't do anything. So I tried making it to Navajo. I'm drenched to my bone, cold. Like my rain jacket is like, well, I think it's a rain resistant. I don't think it's a rain jacket, which is found out the fun way. And my pants, I knew were water resistant, not waterproof, and those were sticking to me like hard. So I tried setting up my tent. By the time I got my rain fly on, I looked inside my tent and it was just a puddle. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be 14 degrees tonight. So that's a no go. Even though I'm a mile away from Navajo, I just don't know what's in front of me. Like, I'm assuming the water tank is going to be flatter ground, but I just don't know. So I packed everything up. I literally run 3 miles back with that pack on me. I did it in 40 minutes. I'm actually pretty proud of myself for that. And then I get back to camp hoping that like someone kind of lives down there. There's lots of houses, but no one was home at any of the houses. I checked them all. And then I go on to I think it's like Mormon Lake Road or Mary Lake, whatever that road is. And I'm just like, I know I'm cold. Luckily the rain kind of let up a little bit, so I got to like cool off, warm up. So luckily I ran into those two like trail people last night and I got their numbers and I called Kurt. I know Kurt's a local. Called him. I was like, "Hey, I messed up. Can you help me?" He's like, "No way." He's like, "I'm actually at Navajo dropping your water off. I was waiting for you to see if you'd make it through. Obviously the storm came through, so I got a little worried." I was like, "That's so sweet of you." So picked me up. He's just laughing at me. I was like, fair. I get it. It's freezing rain. There's this beautiful, of course, like once I get back on the other side of the ridge, it's just these beautiful tufts of like pink and blue clouds. The clouds move so quickly here. He explained like the terrain and like the mesa and like how it all works and stuff with the lake. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Makes sense why it's snowing here and not in the rest of the state. But brought me back to his parents' house. I stayed in their like wood shop workshop. So I slept in this like corner. I'm like took everything out to dry. This is like where his truck is. Dried out my tent. Completely unpacked everything. Like just so grateful that there's just such nice human beings. I got like my own little space to hang out in. Laid out all my stuff to dry. They fed me dinner. Luckily his mom and dad were like ex-paramedics, and his mom's like a nurse, or like was a nurse. They're retired. She patched up my feet, as you can see. Okay, can you see? Let's just flip this around if I can figure it out. Nope, I don't know how to figure it out. Okay, so my heel and this and that toe, bad. This heel, this, I don't know, under my toe. And then my entire right pinky toe, the whole thing around it was just this bubble. Like my skin was so thin because it had such a thick bubble on it. And she made me like take a needle and like pop all the ones that weren't popped yet. Well, all the big ones, because they was so big. She's like, it's gonna pop. Might as well like control it and like drain it. And I was like, all right, you know it. She like hooked me up with salve and like all this cool stuff and sent me with like a little care package to take care of my stuff. So I decided that I took a 0 day, which is like, I don't know. You don't want to take a 0 on like your 4th day, but my feet hurt so bad. And like while you're walking, it's like you don't really notice it. You notice it, but it's like you can kind of tune it out. It's when you stop and start again. When you start again, you're like, oh, you're like walking on eggshells, but like your feet are the eggshells, and it hurts so bad. And then like you kind of start walking and you're like, okay. But it slowed me down yesterday. I was averaging like 3 miles an hour the first 2 days, and then I was like 2.3 miles an hour, and I was like, that's just because my feet hurt. Like it's not because of anything else. So because the weather is very, very cold and my feet are in shambles, I did take the day. I just took a 0, and like literally like read a Harry Potter and like slept today and like hung out in this cool thing. Just so grateful that I ran into those people, and that like they're just so, I can't even have the words to describe them. They're just so supportive and kind and understanding and helpful. And even though like my journey like just begun, like they're not like, you should do this. Like they're just like, just let me know what you need. Like I'll give like, let me know if you're hungry. I was like, wow, it's just so different from what I'm used to, I guess. It's very, very cool. So I'm not actually upset with myself. I think I made the right decision. My feet are getting so blistered, I think, because my pack's so heavy. I think I packed too much food, which I don't think food is like a fear of mine. Like they say, you pack your fears. Water is definitely a fear of mine, and I have a lot of water jugs. But food is not mine. That's not like I'd like to eat food, but I just think I packed too much. And so I'm just definitely going to try and eat as much as I can. I have been eating as much as I can today, and I'm just going to leave some because there are known stores open along the way that I can like refuel up and stuff. So I'll do that. But man, life is bananas. Like when we're taking out my tent to like dry, it is just sopping wet, like still dripping wet of water, even though it is comical. You got to laugh at it later. I definitely made the right decision. I didn't know that Kurt was at Navajo, like just a mile ahead, and I didn't know what I'd run into or not run into. So I think I made the right decision. I mean, I'm safe, I'm healthy, I'm dry, I'm warm, which is all wonderful. And I was thinking today, I was just like, I just have a month to just like do me. And like, I just have a whole month to be like, if you want to just read for the day, you can read for the day. And like, at first I was like really upset that there's at least one good, two passages that are closed because they've had really bad fires this summer. And I was like kind of upset. I was like, oh, I want to do the whole thing, but it's like, it's not even about like the miles you walk or how quickly you can get it done. Like, it's just about the people you meet and experience along the way of it. Like, I'm still having a great time. Yes, there was some like very scary moments yesterday, but I was just like, I can't overthink it. I just knew I had to focus and get back. And like, I'm not even upset that I took like a 0 day on day 4 because I'm hanging out with these wonderful people, and I'm still like learning and doing whatever I want and just making time for me, which is what this whole thing's about. So that's my update. Man, Life is bananas. That's all I can say. All right. Peace out, Girl Scout.